Again, everyone, thanks so much for calling in. Um, it's about 9:59, so hopefully you can hear me. And let's see. Everyone, I gave you audio rights, so you can unmute yourself at any time according to the system. So if you want to jump in and use audio, that'll be great. We may have a smaller group today. I think we have around 20 people registered, um, and 10 individuals who have logged in. Can everybody hear me okay? You can chime in via the
Yes.
audio or, okay, thank
Yes, I can
you,
hear
thank
you,
you.
Jamie.
Okay, thank you. My apologies for the background noise. I'm actually in Raleigh at a hotel. We're holding a trauma-informed training today in Raleigh, and stepped out to take care of today's webinar. So again, everyone should have um, unmute rights as we move forward. It's about 10:01, I believe. So we will go ahead and get started. And I'll try to share a little bit of history with you about the purpose of today. And again, apologize for the background noise. Sadly, it's unavoidable. Um, we held this similar type webinar I think it was last November, um, basically as a way to present recent updates to the master grid and to ECCO that were made in fall, and also just another way to reach out and have a conversation about problem areas and needs and so forth, because I do realize that frequently when we meet in bigger groups, it's harder to kind of drill down on particular issues or try to track issues so we can gain guidance with the developers. So that's a primary purpose today, is to hear from you with current issues and processes, and to review recent changes. If you attended the LME meetings with providers week before last and 3 weeks ago, some of this, or the majority of this, actually, you really have heard before. If you did not attend those meetings, this may be some new information per se. And again, I do apologize for the background. Hopefully, things will quieten down in just a few minutes. So today, we usually kick things off. Or first of all, any questions out there or pressing issues we know we need to get to in our time this morning together? Okay. And as things may come up, feel free to chime in and mute yourself via the GoToWebinar system, or type your question into the question box as well. So hopefully we'll have a chance to look at some of the new and recent changes in ECCO. I also want to share with everyone and give you some examples of some of the reports within ECCO that we can pull in a variety of ways. Again, as I mentioned during the LMA meetings, the reports are not 100% verified yet. We believe we're about 95% there, but some of the columns and calculations are still not as accurate as they need to be based on the formulas. So they're basically a work in process. But I do want to spend some time sharing with you how you can start pulling that information down, and we will be providing some detailed instructions for each report as we move forward as well. And everyone should already have access to these reports. we'll look at parts A, B, C, and E. We'll start talking about intervention profile creation for the next financial year, and of course the brief case and so forth. So again, if you attended the LMA meetings, much of this will be not necessarily new information, but newer information. First of all, the master grid. Of course, the current master grid we have, there hasn't been any changes. That particular master grid was published in August, and it's what I would call version 2.0. It was actually about 2.1 or so, but it was the second version. And you can always find the master grid on the TTA help desk. Go to ncpreventiontta.org, click on help desk, and this should be the screen everyone sees. And under master grid resources, you can download the master grid, which again, the latest version was published in 2018, August. Just something to point out that many folks, it's really easy to miss if you're not looking for this. The master grid has two tabs. One tab is allowable for all programs, and another one that is conditionally allowed. And the conditionally allowed tab includes a significant number of prevention education programs that were approved prior to 2017, and your individual programs may have been approved to deliver that particular and specific intervention. I do have a concern. The master grid is a really valuable resource in terms of not only allowable interventions, but also creating a core foundation of knowledge in terms of your IOM category and service type, as well as the notation and the example critical documents. So please don't forget to refer back to those the example critical documents column and the notation column for additional information that's extremely beneficial, especially if we have to calculate population level reach using census data and indicated formulas. I want to stop there, and I realize that, as we said in the meetings, the master grid has been around for a long time now, and since everyone has the ability to unmute themselves or place a question in the question box, are there things that we need to address within the master grid concept?
I'm gonna go get some poison for
Hello?
Be right back.
Okay. If we don't, let's move forward. So we do have some changes in the ecosystem. Again, the ecosystem is designed to track outcomes and data for state level reporting and for reporting to SAMHSA. And we're beginning to reach the point where we can pull out very rich and valuable data sets that I believe will also help you with your community level reporting and strategy developments, your local evaluation processes, and just community-based organizational and program development. And we did that, and creating these reports and processes is the way we hope will be valuable to you, requires some changes on the back end to ECCO, specifically with how we initially create interventions within the system. And will require some part of a new paradigm of thinking as we create new interventions in the system. So let's start there with creating new interventions in the system and talk about how we did this last year and the changes that will be made during the upcoming year, financial year. And of course, I will use the ECCO, my ECCO training program. And everyone should have a screen like this within their intervention profile boxes. And this is, of course, the screen that provides us the opportunity to add an intervention that is totally new, or we can edit existing interventions. We can view how those interventions were created and duplicate. If you remember, back in late June, early July, we added the duplicate button and allowed programs to duplicate profiles from 2017-18 into 2018-19. We will soon be turning the duplicate button off and asking everyone to start creating new profiles for financial year 2019-2020 from scratch. We really don't want anyone to carry forward the old profile setups. That reason being is within some of those profiles, the way we set those up didn't always match the standard. If you remember, prior to November, you were actually asked to manually type in the intervention name. And if users typed in intervention names in a way that did not match the master grid, it created some data issues on the back end. So now we have a way basically to help everybody clean up their data and create an easier way to develop intervention profiles on the front end. That's basically using drop-down boxes. That process only works if we create interventions from scratch by using this Add Intervention button. So one of those things to kind of keep in mind, but nothing to do right now, is hopefully by mid-June, we will start providing instructions and allow the system to accept interventions for the 2019-2020 year. And there will only be one way to do that, via the Add Intervention button. And I will do that today, of course. I will create a new intervention, as you will be creating new interventions for 2019-20. And we do have an option that says 2019-2020 in the drop-down box. It's not fully rolled out yet throughout the system. So I would not go in today and start creating 2019-2020 interventions. I would wait until we give everyone the all clear at the end of June. But suppose I'm creating All Stars. And of course, we would select the health issues that All Stars addresses. In my county, on the system level of Stokes, none of this has changed. Questions in this box are basically remaining the same. And click Save. And you should see a success box pop up. And the traditional part A, B, C, and E should be shown on your screen. Filler's name again could be, let's say that's me. And keep in mind as well, when you begin filling in text such as names and within text boxes within ECCO, and you see these drop-down boxes automatically populate, These boxes are not being populated by ECCO itself. They're actually being populated by your browser, whether that be Chrome or Explorer, based on your cookies. So always confirm that the information that's being suggested is correct. Because if you look at, as I type my name in, I'm in there as 4 different, it's the same name but 4 different email addresses. I could very easily choose the wrong address by accident. And again, my phone number even pre-populated, which again is not driven by ECCO, but driven by your browser. So a mistake could happen very easily without knowing it. A funding source is one of the primary points of data inconsistencies received, to make sure that you choose the appropriate funding source for the intervention. Also, take note, we have something new that you may not have noticed in red. It says Part A auto hold successful. What that means is the system is automatically saving your data input as we go along, as we fill the form out. Plus, you traditionally have also a save button too. So there's basically auto saving happening in the background, and there's a manual save button as well. I know this is not Jessica's email, or just cut it short, and enter a phone number. If you have issues, if you have set up a new profile and you think you've set up the profile effectively and appropriately, and you've even completed Part B and Part E, then go to your intervention profile screen, and you cannot find the profile and wonder where it is, why didn't this work? If you did not choose a funding source, generally speaking, the profile will not show up. And of course, the system allows you to move forward without choosing a funding source. So it's really easy to kind of skip over, fill everything else out, then attempt to find your profile, and it doesn't show up on the reporting screens, on the plan and report screens. So that's just a little hint and tidbit. If you do have issues with finding a newly created intervention and you cannot report upon it, you may have a missing funding source indicated. Again, another subtle change is if you attempt to make changes and it doesn't allow you to, the system doesn't allow you to make changes, make sure to click on edit, and you can then make changes. And again, Part B we spent a significant amount of time with during the LME meetings about how Part B is now really the foundation for, it's really the foundation that ECCO sets on. Part B creates all the other reporting screens on the plan and report sections of ECCO. The approved state priority, we realize that really detailed guidance has not been provided related to this, and the information asked under detailed state priority actually goes back many years, and is currently being reviewed. So I will randomly pick priority 1B, and the best message for providers is to choose the priority that best fits the actual intervention that might be created. Question number 3. This is a new change. This is what really drives everything. In the past year, we asked providers to manually type in the name and make sure that name matched the master grid. And if it did not, if we typed in All Stars 5 different ways, ECCO thought that All Stars was listed 5 different times, that it was 5 different programs, as opposed to being one program. So we've avoided that. So for example, I could start typing in All Stars, and the system only gives me characters associated with that name. So I do know that I want to choose All Stars. And this ensures that I only have one way of spelling All Stars, the system provided way, and this will reduce our error rate dramatically this coming year. Also, we have a new pop-up box that's really important. Education intervention type selected. So since All Stars is a youth prevention education program, it can be delivered frequently in a variety of arrays based on Institute of Medicine categories. So we have a pop-up box that reminds us to complete category question number 5, or question number 5. We will return to this really important item number 5 point in just a moment. So we chose All Stars, and the system knew automatically that the All Stars is a prevention education intervention time. Suppose I chose alcohol purchase surveys. ECCO automatically knows that alcohol purchase surveys should be classified as environmental. So this should also ease data entry burden, we hope, and improve data consistency as well. Where before we were asking you to basically look at the master grid and make sure your alignments were correct based on the matrix in the master grid and entering that data in ECCO. So let's go back to All Stars, which is a prevention education program. Okay, so within All Stars can, as is typical with many prevention education programs, be delivered in a variety of ways. And item number 5 does not pre-populate under prevention, youth prevention education programs. It pre-populates in other strategies. For example, let's go back and look at my alcohol purchase surveys again and attempt to click on number 5. There's only one option because that particular strategy can only be delivered in one way based on the category design. But again, if we choose All Stars based on your community needs and your management approach, All Stars could be delivered in a variety of ways. So you will have to make sure to indicate manually for youth prevention education the appropriate category.
Jamie, I have a question.
Okay.
With the approved state priority, the strategy model, are the conditionally approved ones going to be listed as well, or just the ones on the main master grid?
Good question. Let's try that. Let's just try that. Teen intervene. Let's try that. So teen intervene is not listed. Let's try one more.
I do active parenting of teens, and it doesn't look like it's listed.
Yeah, parenting of teens.
Active parenting.
Active. That's a really good question. And at this point, it appears no. So if you have conditionally approved interventions that's not showing up on the pre-population screen for number 3, let us know, and we'll work with you in the background to make sure that you have access to that. Also, many of you may have conditionally approved or pre-approved interventions that are specific to your agency due to legacy implementation or special approval pre-ECCO and pre the current administration. If you have those, that's of course not listed on the master grid, please let us know. And we can also work with you about how best to enter those. Because again, as when we were typing in the grid names, the intervention names, this wasn't a problem. Since it's a forced answer, it is a problem. Does anyone else have that issue? I'm sure it's out there a couple of times. Thank you so much for that question. That's an excellent one. Service type also pre-populates based on the available implementation characteristics, and it's based off the information from the master grid. Basically, what we did in the background was we uploaded the master grid into ECCO and created natural connections based on the master grid connections. If you see inconsistencies or have conditionally approved or prior approved interventions that's not listed, again, let me know directly, and we'll work with you, Tom, to give you a good option. When we reviewed data within ECCO last fall, actually last spring, spring 2018, we also reviewed data in ECCO in November of 2019, and I reviewed all environmental data statewide at the state level this week, looking for common points of data inconsistency. And the number one point of data inconsistency was the identifying your strategy model, then picking the appropriate intervention type. And you may ask, well, how can that be if ECCO is pre-populating Part B already? Well, most of your interventions statewide were created in late June, July, August of last year under the old way of doing business, which was manually making those connections. We didn't have pre-populations. So we're still, one of our goals this summer will be to help folks clean their data up for this year and making sure that your selections align appropriately. And again, make sure to complete your location setting boxes, and you can add multiple locations. Number 7 actually creates the screens and the locations for your data reporting. I want to stop there, and we'll take any conversations or ideas related to Part B. Part B is pretty important. When we start troubleshooting with providers during technical assistance calls or having technology issues, the first thing we always do is go back and look at Part B and your funding source in Part A and confirm that everything looks right. Now, you may have a question, should we go back and change Part B's if we set up Part B prior to November? And the current answer is no. It could cause some unexpected data issues. Your data wouldn't necessarily be impacted, but it might be a little bit harder to see on your end. So we're asking everybody to leave their interventions and how they were set up in Part B as is, and not to make any changes. If you feel like you have to make a change, let us know, and we'll talk you through that. And we may have to get Marcus and the ECCO folks involved to give them a heads up. Part C, another significant change we talked about during the LME meetings is prior to last month, providers could upload data into Part C, into the briefcase, and into the data reporting screen as specimens of evidence, so to speak. And it was really confusing what to upload where and in what way and so forth. So we've now reduced the locations where files can be uploaded down to one location or uploaded to the briefcase. No longer can we upload files to Part C or the data reporting screens as evidence. Now, that being said, no one can upload files to Part C anymore, but you may see files in Part C that you uploaded before, and you can still access those files. You can still download them. You just can't upload any new files, and that's okay. Also, since we made this change somewhat at the end of the year, you may ask, should I upload all the files in Part C into the briefcase again? And the correct answer is no. If we need to search out files for particular reasons, we will know that we need to look for files in the briefcase and look for files in Part C too, and even look for files under the data reporting screens. If you have, copies of rosters, photos of billboards, and so forth. So the word to the wise for Part C is you may still see existing files, and they're safe, nothing to worry about. Don't feel the need to upload them to the briefcase now if they're already uploaded to the system. If you have files uploaded in the data reporting screens, don't feel the need to upload them again in the briefcase. Just note that moving forward, the only location to upload files is the briefcase, and only the briefcase. Let's see how much confusion I've created with Part C, and we'll open things up to questions quickly. Okay. Again, please stop me at any time. We have a small group, and I'm pretty informal. I try to be, so just chime in anytime. Part E is action plans or action steps. We realize that the action plan / action steps, screens, and creation process has been very difficult in a variety of ways for individual programs, and generally pain points. We've found some universal pain points, and we have found some points and issues that are unique to agencies. And I can assure you that this is being looked at, especially within the audit, the pilot audit, and those programs chosen for the pilot audit, that they're beginning to help us identify ways we can make improvements to the action plan process. We did make a few changes to the action step process beginning in July. And when you choose, I chose All Stars. Remember, the intervention I chose was All Stars. And beginning as we create the 2019-2020 interventions, your action steps will be pre-populated by ECCO. We hope this will help reduce some of the copy and paste burden, because before the auto-population of action steps, before that was an option, the best advice you were given as providers was to basically copy and paste out of the strategy guidance document action steps. And we know that was a very laborious and time-intensive process, especially if you have large programs with large staff, with multiple interventions. It could take a really, really long time. We still acknowledge and realize action planning and action steps it's still a time-intensive and laborious process. So our first attempt to start working on that is to pre-populate action steps. You can see that mine did not pre-populate right now because they were not created for the next financial year. But hypothetically, and as the system should work, when we start creating interventions for the next financial year, you will, if you have 5 action steps that's provided as recommendations in the guidance document that we published in January, that's online via the help desk, those 5 steps should be pre-populated for you. Those are considered the minimum steps And of course, local programs can add their own action steps, additional steps throughout the process. Of course, local data entry will still be needed for responsible parties and location nodes, resources needed, and so forth. A reminder that currently question number 8 does not work. That's on the list of items to remove from ECCO. As soon as we insert the help button, that will appear on every screen. So basically the summary of the action plans is your steps will automatically pre-populate based on the strategy chosen, and you can still add steps as you go along. I'll stop there and kind of open things up for the action steps or action plan. Of all of the usability concerns that I personally have with ECCO, and there are several, to be honest, making the action plan process and updating the steps more user-friendly is one of my greatest concerns. How we do that and what steps we take are still really being discussed, a conversational topic. If you have suggestions and ideas and feedback in terms of how you want this to look and possible solutions, please send those along. Some of the better ideas that we have implemented in ECCO came from the user themselves, to be honest. So please let us know. We value and respect and need your feedback. Okay. So again, beginning with the 2019-2020 financial year, we will remove the duplicate button off the intervention profiles and only allow you to create new interventions and only create new interventions. While I shift screens, we can open things up to, or open the conversation up to comments or questions, or if you want to throw marshmallows at me, that type of thing, that's okay too. So we talked about the master grid, that there's really no changes. I do have a fear, and I started to mention this in the very beginning, due to the pre-population of Part B within ECCO, it somewhat, on the surface, reduces the need for the master grid, especially for staff who enter data. But we can't emphasize the importance of the information contained in the master grid. And even though ECCO has the capacity to pre-populate the greatest majority of the columns from the master grid, that grid still includes a significant amount of information. We're still struggling with a way to automate the master grid. So it's a drop-down box, choose this or choose this type of it to use as a reference document. We want to give folks the option of using the Excel spreadsheet, but also a interactive website type experience within the help desk. We have several ideas, but have not arrived at a fully automated process. Let's see. Let's look at the briefcase quickly. Again, this screen has not changed since significantly. And the briefcase is where the briefcase has always been. And you will see 2 examples of briefcases. You will see the example of the ECCO briefcase and a older past tense PFS intervention profile from last year that's no longer active. The briefcase can be sorted by upload number, meaning the number that was associated with the file when it was uploaded by the system. You can also search by name. The search box searches by file name, and the characters contained within the file you gave the name to. So that makes your file name pretty important to provide detailed file names that you will be able to tell what the file means and what is contained in the file, but also that you normally search for. So that search box is only as good as the file names you attach to it. When we talk about file names, you can also sort by most recent or reverse. And before in ECCO, you may remember the briefcase only included files, and it said item number 2, item number 3, item number 4. Now you can see the actual file name and the date uploaded. Plus, you also have a delete feature. Do you want to delete the file? Just keep in mind, if you say OK, then you actually delete the file from the ECCO system. We have multiple backups of files submitted to ECCO. We have never, in my experience, lost a file. It's usually, if you upload it, it's there, unless it's been deleted. Also, we've had some users indicate, well, we ran out of space, so we started deleting the oldest files. Please don't do that. Let us know if you run out of space, and we will increase your file storage capacity. Currently, it's set up to contain 75 files. So if you happen to be at 75 and attempt to upload 5 files and do not find success, let me know. Let us know at the TTA Center, and we will help you increase the cap. It's extremely important that we not delete items unless it's intentional on purpose. You may also see a new text entry. Before, maybe 3 weeks ago, this box said search by file name, and it did not say tag. Now it says search by file name or tag. And that's a neat feature that when you choose to upload a file, and you can choose to upload a file, for example, the normal in regular way. Also, keep in mind too, when uploading files, you can press the Control key and select multiple files at the same time. So you could technically upload 5 files at the same time to save keystrokes. You can also tag your files. So for example, we created the profile for All Stars earlier. Which means I can indicate that the files I'm uploading to ECCO belong to All Stars, to that particular intervention. So that's really, really important. That's another way that you can search for files. If I happen to have 150 files in my briefcase or 75 files, and I cannot remember the actual file name for a All Stars related data file or collection, I can simply search for All Stars, and files should start pre-populating. Now again, this feature may or may not work for you based on how your profiles were set up originally today, April the 18th, but they will become active and current as soon as we begin creating new profiles for the 2019-2020 financial year. So we believe this will be a really useful feature. Another question, especially within environmental approaches and others, suppose you want to tag a file to multiple interventions. You can also do that. So I could actually tag this file to Reconnecting Youth and to All Stars both, and the system will be able to recognize that. Now, that being said, if you choose to upload 5 files to the system and you choose to tag it with multiple interventions, the system doesn't know the difference. So if you have 5 files, for example, and 3 of those you want to tag to All Stars, and 2, to all stars and reconnecting use, you will want to upload your files individually. Just don't upload all of your files and tag them to multiple programs unless you really want to tag them to multiple programs. I will stop there for just a few moments, and we can do a check-in for the briefcase. Okay, we're nearing the end. Let's take a look at the ECCO reporting, and there's basically 2 ways to pull data out of ECCO. There's a collection of screens, reporting screens, some which have existed for a long period of time, some which are brand new. Some of those can be printed out. Some are downloadable in PDF format, and others can be downloaded in CSV format. So I just want to share those with everyone. Okay. You can, of course, click on reports. I don't know if anyone has ever clicked on reports, but you can. And there are several options. You should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 8 tabs. And in my case, if I click on region, for example, I have access to all LME regions. You will not. The user, the provider will only have access to the regions and the LMEs you have contracts with. Also, if I click on agency, I have access to all agencies as well. So we can search by intervention. So let's pick CTA. I'm actually listed as an agency. Actually, let's choose testing agency. And click search. So the system will search the programs I have access to that relates back to testing agency. This is less of a report, but more of a sorting mechanism. So let's get to the actual reports. There's a report for errors. This is for staff, reporting of staff time. And again, you can search by LME or all LMEs you provide services to. Search by agency. Generally, most providers only are listed as one agency, unless, for example, you were identified as a CURES program or a SPIF or X program. Again, if you choose all agencies, you will only have access to agencies assigned to you, the profiles assigned to you, and not any outside agencies. We can also sort by strategy. Suppose you're looking for services in Cardinal, for example, within all of your agencies, and you want to choose let's only choose environmental. You can also choose delivery focus, IOM category, but I will leave that as all. Funding source, you could sort by, or I will choose all. And you could choose a report from and a report to time frame. If you leave this blank, ECCO will pull out data from the very beginning, going back to 2017 or earlier for some of the test data. Now, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen since I chose, well, I do too. Let's choose CTA. Okay, let me share with you too in advance. We're currently working on focusing on a bug for the dates. Our framework and formulas in the background to narrow down specific dates of pulling data from the start to the end. We're having some issues. So when I click view, you will see that currently showing up as 0, which is okay for demonstration purposes. So this is a new example. Before, the screen was not available, and very, very soon, once the reports are confirmed and verified, when you choose your parameters, you will have a nice representation via tables of the data you have requested. Very soon, you will have a PDF button where you can download the screen as well. Plus, you can also download a CSV file, which is basically an Excel spreadsheet, of course, of the data that can be manipulated on your local PC. So this particular report is on errors. We can look at the errors log, which gives you the ability to download the intervention, well, staff errors for each program. You can see how staff are allocating their time. And this, of course, can be downloaded in CSV format as well. So we can see breakdowns and automatic calculations. We have had issues we're beginning to, in the past, with calculations in terms of the actual calculations of the totals. We believe that we have found solutions to those data bugs in formulas, but again, they have not been 100% certified yet. So I would caution direct interpretation without verification. Confirm and verify at this point with all these reports. Let's go back. Oops. Okay. SINAR errors and SINAR errors logs are still being developed. We realize that there's still issues with column headings and how data is calculated and summarized. It's the same process. You choose your agency that you want to filter down and strategy and so forth. Plus, we also need to clarify when we click on the SINAR errors reports, we're not necessarily clarifying that it's only pulling down SINAR, because it makes the user believe that environmental is listed. Does that include other items besides SINAR or just environmental? Potentially, very, very soon, you should be able to pull out similar data just for SINAR via the reporting features. And of course, download the file. Process. We can pull process data out of ECCO. Again, this report is, again, 95% confirmed, but let's choose my training account and include everything for demonstration's sake, and you will be able to see. This data is broken out by basically a population served type report, broken down by strategy, whether that's individual based, population based, by age count, racial counts, and gender counts. So this is generically called the population summary, and the data can also be downloaded into a CSV file for your usage. And strategies. Again, you'll note the options across most of the reporting reports look very similar, but the sorting options, how we can filter down to receive the appropriate data that we need. It's truly the same interface. And an example of a strategy report. This tends to be a bigger report, so it may take a minute. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. So again, you have basically a graphical representation via a table view of strategies implemented and number of instances and the percentage of staff errors per strategy. So you'll be able to tell what percentage of time a staff spend on each strategy. This will help us to meet our percentage breakdowns, I believe at the program level at least, in terms of state policy for environmental strategies and community-based and youth prevention education. And of course, it can be downloaded as a Excel file or in the future as a PDF, this screen particularly. There's two buttons that folks tend to miss sometimes when we talk about reports. That's your SINR logs and logs for individual staff logs and logs for the entire agency. So you can pull down staff activity and SINR logs from those buttons as well. Eventually, I see a integration of these buttons to these, but at this point, they're different reports. If you click on Help, Get Help, the user is referred to the TTA help desk. You can submit a trouble ticket, and we will respond to you as soon as possible. Let's return. If you click on Errors under Intervention Profile, you can receive logs for your agency. If you click on Agency Log, for example, you will see again staff activities in terms of direct service activities and tracking activities, tracking of time, and that can be downloaded via a CSV file as well. And last but not least, a feature that many individuals use during state reporting time was this IP PDF. Currently, the IP, the intervention PDF, is the only way to extract your action plans. We're working on a much better way to do so, but if you're looking at for a way to extract action plans, currently ECCO only provides this one source, this PDF for that particular intervention. And we realize the limitations of that you're having, if you have 25 interventions within your agency, the user has to download this PDF, intervention PDF, 25 different times, and that's not user friendly. So we want to stabilize the action plan to make sure it's usable for providers and for the audit team, but also provide a better way to extract the action plans at a glance. You should be able to, as a program manager or provider, click on a feature that indicates I want action plans across the agency, all 25, or I want action plans only for environmental. I need action plans only for YPE and so forth. Currently, it's a manual process, one by one by one. So we do realize that issue, and thank you for your patience. But again, the only way to currently extract action plans in a way that prints off consistently is this intervention PDF. and click on download. And the system will allow you to download that particular screen in a really neat format, but it's only action plans per intervention. Oops, okay. Okay, that concludes my pre-developed topics. I believe today's Thursday, so on Monday or Tuesday, I emailed out if anyone had questions or topics to discuss in advance, we could include those today. I did not hear from anyone, so I would like to open up the floor to folks right now and see if there are things that you want to talk about. Everybody's quiet out there. Okay. Well, if there's no other burning questions or comments or items that we need to track and add to the development list that we have a list of around I'll share with you before we leave our development process after the fall LME meetings during fall of 2018. We left those meetings with 27 items within ECCO that were obvious to the user and not so obvious to work on. As soon as those LME meetings were complete, we started addressing those over those 27, 28 items, and we narrowed our list down to about 7. Some that were user facing and some that were totally in the background, system-wise. After the LME meetings this week, well, the prior weeks, the past 2 to 3 weeks, our list grew back to about 22, and we're beginning to work those changes to the system. But we do have limited programming time with the developers, so we have to prioritize the order of operations, so forth. And to give you somewhat of an inside baseball track, we started working on the reports feature in November, and that's really been the sole focus of our efforts since November to this point to support the audit process. And we're still working on those reports to validate them, and it's almost May. So that kind of tells you how long it takes to make subtle and large changes at the same time. Let's see. I think I may have a question. Okay. Well, any other questions out there? I'll be happy to help. If anyone ever needs assistance with ECCO, please let us know. We exist to serve each of you. That's why we're here. If you need us to come out to your location and talk with you face to face, we'll be more than happy to. We're actually receiving more and more of those requests, and we take pride that we can do that, and we're honored that folks are beginning to ask. So this in coming weeks, expect to see an updated ECCO manual. Expect to see a process for how to use the ECCO reports, how to build pivot tables, and how to process some of this really abstract information within Excel if you don't have a lot of experience with Excel, and lots of folks don't, and that's okay. If you need help interpreting the reports, we will be here to help you as well. And just don't feel as if you're by yourself. I think before we close up, Barbara has a question.
Yes, Jamie. How are you today?
I'm okay. You?
I'm good, thank you. You mentioned the downloads for the process data. That
Okay.
will be happening in 2020.
We yes and no. You could try that process data now. Download. For some programs, it may work. It's not fully rolled out into the system. For others, it may not work until 2020. That being said, if you are really excited and want to try to download some of those reports and see what the system gives you, and you have that availability, that's okay. Just be cautious that the formulas driving those reports are not 100%. They're not 100% finished and verified yet. So, I probably have a 95% level of confidence in them. But as soon we want those to be active and verified as soon as we can for everybody. But it may be into the very end of this year, the very beginning of July of 2019-20.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If you also want to look at those with us, if anyone wants to help, we can help you download those reports now and look at those with you and look for any inconsistencies or errors from the back end of ECCO. Sometimes when we see issues within the reports we've been testing out, sometimes it's user error in terms of miscoding of strategies for data entry. Sometimes it's a formula issue with ECCO, or sometimes it's a little bit of both. And we'll be happy to help you filter those out. We realize the reporting features are growing, will be growing more and more important, not only for you, but for the LMEs in the very near future. So we want to help folks as much as we can. But we do want to make sure it's right to begin with in terms of the formulas in the background. And Wake Forest and the audit team and myself and Jessica and the developers are all involved in those conversations. Okay. Anything else out there? After we finish up, in about 60 minutes, you will receive an email with a link for a evaluation. Please fill that out. It'll take you 45 seconds. It really helps us. Plus, attached to the email will be an automatically generated certificate that basically says you were with us today. So we couldn't award certification credit for today based on the topic, but we can give you a certificate for your time, and feel free to download that as well. It will be attached to your email. It's automatically generated by GoToWebinar. If you have things that come up and questions afterwards, just let us know, and we love to hear from you. And have a good holiday. Otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you.